How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another video here on the channel. My name is Zach Hicks, your resident film nerd of horseshoehuddle.com and your favorite co-host over on the Locked On Colts podcast. Indianapolis Colts offensive coordinator Bob Cooter is interviewing with the Philadelphia Eagles for their vacant play calling offensive coordinator position. And while this would technically be a lateral move for Bob, Shane Steichen appears willing to let his offensive coordinator interview and potentially take the job if he's offered. And even if he doesn't land that Eagles job, I do expect Bob Cooter to get a good amount of interest around the league with a lot of these projected defensive coaches getting head coaching jobs and potential things being available out there for him. You know, for the Eagles and for any other team that would interview him, it makes a lot of sense to look at somebody like Cooter. The Colts are coming off a highly productive season where their offense ranked 9th in EPA per play and 8th in scoring, despite having 5 games without their first or second string quarterbacks. The Eagles in particular are trying to get back to a time when Shane Steichen was their offensive coordinator, as Jalen Hurts had the best year of his career in that system run by Steichen. So it would make sense to go for his protege or someone who's worked closely with Steichen these last couple of years. If Cooter does end up taking that job, though, I would expect the Colts to lean more into an internal promotion rather than seeking an outside name for the job. Among the many candidates on the offensive staff, there are 3 names that stick out the most to me for guys who could get that elevation. One is passing game coordinator Alex Tanney. 2 is tight ends coach Tom Manning, and 3 is offensive line coach Tony Sparano Jr. Alex Tanney has the longest working history with Shane Steichen. He played under Steichen for a season back in 2013 with the Cleveland Browns, and then reunited with him as an assistant coach with the Eagles back in 2021. The duo worked together for 2 seasons before Steichen landed the Colts job. Tanney was promoted to QB coach for the Eagles in 2024 before joining the Colts as a passing game coordinator for this past season. Tom Manning is a guy that's been around the Colts for a little bit. He initially joined the coaching staff under Frank Reich as a tight end coach before going back and working under Matt Campbell at Iowa State as an offensive coordinator for a couple seasons from 2019 to 2022. He worked with Brock Purdy, who now is a very good NFL quarterback, but Brock Purdy was his quarterback at Iowa State in that kind of under center, I don't want to say under center, kind of like a Big 12 styled offense with a lot of 12 and 13 personnel. Manning returned to the NFL level after he was let go from his position as offensive coordinator in 2022, returned to the Colts at 2023 to coach tight ends again, and has served in that role ever since. With the Colts' move to this tight end-centric 12 and 13 personnel approach last season, Manning had a much bigger role in game planning and overall performance in 2025 than maybe he had in seasons before that. The final candidate, though, is Tony Sparano Jr., probably the best position coach on the roster. He's produced exceptional results with the Colts offensive line in recent years and has been a massive part of grooming Bernhard Raimann, Tanner Bortolini, and Matt Gonsalves into starting caliber players, or at least in Raimann's case, a Pro Bowl level player. It likely makes more sense to promote Sparano Jr. to like a run game coordinator job, but Clayton Adams' success in Dallas this past year could lead to more offensive line coaches getting a shot at the OC jobs in the future. My personal favorite for the position, though, would be Tom Manning, that tight end coach for the Colts. He has that past experience at the college level, calling plays and working as an offensive coordinator. Plus, he spent multiple years in college coaching multiple positions besides just tight end. He's worked on the offensive line. He's worked at other position groups as well. So that would make him a major asset, and he's a little bit more versatile than coaches like Tanney or Sparano Jr., who've mainly stuck to their same position groups or aspects of the offense. Also, according to a few people I've talked to, Manning has been essential in the Colts game plan in the last couple of years, from working heavily on the pre-snap motion and disguising plays, and also being a big part of the Colts short yardage offense as well. So considering how much Daniel Jones thrived with that pre-snap motion and how good the Colts short yardage offense has been in recent seasons, Manning feels like the logical choice for me. Only 42 years old. He's been with the Colts for a while now at this point. I think Manning is the guy I would go with internally. But there are a few outside choices that could make some sense for the Colts as well, even if you guys don't love these names I'm going to throw out there. But if they feel like they want to bring in a new voice or go back to some of Steichen's past connections or go to a different coaching tree, there are a couple names that make some sense out there. If we're looking at guys who have coached with Steichen in the past, Former Eagles offensive coordinators Brian Johnson and Kevin Patullo have both worked with Steichen, but the direction the Colts offense is heading in appears to be very different from the style of offense those two are familiar with. I mean, Brian Johnson's coming from working under Cliff Kingsbury this past season, or the past 2 seasons, and that shotgun heavy approach is just not the approach the Colts are going for right now. And Patullo, I know a lot of people around the NFL are not huge fans of him right now, but Patullo I still think can be a fine non-play calling offensive coordinator in this league. It's just the Colts, again, they're going away from that style of offense that Patullo is most familiar with and leaning heavier into that McVay and Shanahan style of approach. Speaking of the McVay, Shanahan, like Ben Johnson style of under center, more tight end approach, the Colts could lean into one of those coaching trees if they really wanted to grab somebody from the outside that can accentuate that aspect of what they're trying to do on offense. So if we're looking at like McVay's coaching staff, quarterback coach Dave Ragone has some experience as an offensive coordinator in the past and could make some sense. And even from Ben Johnson's coaching staff, Antoine Randall is a name to consider because he's worked under Ben Johnson for quite a few handful of years at this point now. Randall's actually spent a long time under Ben Johnson, so he could make a lot of sense as a potential offensive coordinator guy as well. Overall, though, the Colts have plenty of options for their offensive coordinator job if Bob Cooter ends up heading to Philly or any of these other openings. My personal preference, again, is Tom Manning as an internal promotion, but it'll be interesting to see what route the Colts go if that position opens up some point this offseason. You know, it's a non-play calling offensive coordinator job, so you're not going to get a Mike McDaniel or any of these other kind of crazy candidates out there. But I think, you know, there are some opportunities to get either a new voice in here or elevate people like Manning or Tony Soprano Jr. as a run game coordinator. I think the Colts could do some interesting things. But yeah, again, I like Manning for the role. I want to give that elevation to Tony Soprano Jr. as well. Keep Alex Tanney in the current role. I think he did a pretty good job with that. And then see what happens from there. But let me know what you guys think in the comments section. If the Colts lose Bob Cooter, who would you hire as offensive coordinator? Don't say Mike McDaniel because he's not coming for a non-play calling. And don't suggest Shane Steichen giving up play calling. He's one of the best in the NFL at it. But, you know, let me know in the comment section below. Maybe you do want Shane Steichen to give up play calling. Let me know below.